G'day guys, Mr. B here with another maths tutorial video for you. Today we're going to look at ratios. I'm going to introduce how do we actually write ratios. So guys, with ratios, we might have seen ratios before. If you've ever done some cooking and looked at some recipes, then ratios are used all the time in cooking. For example, when we're baking bread, we might use a recipe where we need 400 grams of flour and we add that to 5 grams of salt. And guys, this is an example of a ratio. The ratio of flour to salt is, well, we've got 400 grams of flour and 5 grams of salt, so our ratio is 400 to 5. Our ratio of flour to salt is 400 to 5, and this is how we write it. And guys, that order is really important. If we write 5 to 400, well, the bread's not gonna come out tasting very good if we use 5 grams of bread flour and 400 grams of salt. So that order is really important. And notice in the ratio as well, we lose the units. We don't include any units in our answer, and that's a really important thing about ratios. So guys, some key points about ratios. We use ratios to compare quantities of the same kind. Okay, the order of those numbers in that ratio is super important. There's no units in our final answer for a ratio, and our ratios are only ever going to contain whole numbers. So guys, if we write ratios, if you look at an example, we've got some red counters and green counters, and if we're asked to write the ratio of the number of red counters to the number of green counters, well, I'm looking at red to green. Okay, and I can see I've got 1, 2, 3 red counters and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green counters. So what I can say is my ratio of red counters to green counters is 3 to 8. Let's look at another example. So we've got a paint that uses 3 litres of red paint and 2 litres of grey paint. Write the ratio of the amount of red paint to the amount of grey paint. Now guys, we can visualize this. Okay, we've got 3 litres of red paint is to 2 litres of grey paint. So if I'm writing my ratio of red to grey, I've got 3 red to 2 grey, 3 litres to 2 litres, but we don't include those units in our answer. We've just got a ratio of 3 to 2. Guys, one more type of example that we might see is where we have to rewrite a statement as a ratio. And for this example, we've got 7 millimeters to 1 centimeter. So first thing, I'm going to write this out, okay? But remember, ratios are used to compare quantities of the same kind. Now here we've got millimeters and we've got centimeters. They're not the same type of units. And before we can simplify this ratio, we've got to make sure both those units are the same. And what we can do is we can remember that in 1 centimeter there are 10 millimeters. So we're going to convert this centimeter into millimeters. By multiplying by 10, it's going to give me 10 millimeters. I'm going to rewrite this ratio. And now it's going to say 7 millimeters to 10 millimeters. And guys, we just got to remember for our final answer, ratios don't have any units of measurement, so we're going to get rid of those units. And there is our ratio. And job's done. Okay guys, I've given you some examples of how we can write ratios. Guys, now I want you to give this a go, and we're going to look at 2 questions. I want you to pause your video, read the questions, and then play the video to look at the worked solutions. Okay guys, if we look at question 1, we've got to write the ratio of the number of blue triangles to the number of red triangles. We've got 1, 2, 3 blue to 1, 2 red triangles. So my ratio of blue to red is going to be 3 to 2. Awesome. Guys, for question 2, we need to rewrite the statement as a ratio, and it's 13 seconds to 1 minute. Okay, so we're going to write that in, 13 seconds to 1 minute. Now, we've got to remember, we've got to convert these units to the same type of units. So we're going to convert this 1 minute into seconds, and we'll remember that there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. And once we've done that, we remember that ratios don't include units in their answer, so I'm going to get rid of those units, and there we have our ratio. Guys, that is it for today's lesson on ratios. Guys, I'll see you again next time for more maths tutorials with Mr. B.